snack has played a huge part in my training camp. The protein, the ZMA, everything, the pre-workout, it's played such a major part in my training camp, keeping me healthy, keeping me recovered, keeping me feeling good, strong, and ready for my next workout.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Marcos Villegas here in Las Vegas, being joined with Richie Plant, the father of Caleb Plant, and you guys are gearing up for your son's undisputed fight with Canelo Alvarez. Overall, Rich, how would you put into words what this moment means to your son and to yourself, knowing that you guys have been through a lot together in your guys' lives?
Well, as you go through this journey, you have all these milestones along the way. In the amateurs, winning Golden Glove Nationals, and then Olympic alternate, and then you turn pro. Your first bout, that's a milestone. And then you go along, and then eventually you have that title eliminator. Then you got the title shot. Well, we're at the top of the mountain now. This is for all the marbles. And once there was a day when if you were the champ, you were the man. But now, you have belts, things are a little more fractured, so you have different metrics now to determine who the man is, So one of them is pound for pound, and then the other one, a little more elusive, is the undisputed. Well, we got both things going on in this fight, so it doesn't get any bigger.
When you look at what happened at the press conference, like you as a father, like what'd you make of what happened, and did that change the dynamic of all of your son's mentality coming into the fight?
I don't really think it did. He was in beast mode from the beginning, so I don't really think. If anything, it just. I see it as a good thing. The way everything shook out, I'm happy with it.
Why?
Well, there were just some things that Caleb and I talked about, and before and after, and I'm just gonna leave it right there. It was a good thing.
When you look at Canelo as a fighter and the style that he possesses, what do you make of Caleb and his style in terms of the stylistic matchup of this fight? And do you think that Caleb stylistically has an advantage over Canelo given his style?
I do. I absolutely do. There are, styles make fights, and when you begin to prepare for a fight, that's right where you start. You start with your opponent. You begin to study his style and how your style matches, and up to that, and we feel comfortable.
You guys got to think that Canelo is going to come in pressure, right? Like he's going to come because Canelo's never been a mover. He's been a little bit, even though he's been a little bit more fluid than before. He's never been a guy that uses his feet and moves around. But so you got to think he's going to be the one coming towards Caleb.
I mean, there's not a lot of mysteries with Canelo. He's going to do what he's going to do. You see it. It's very consistent from fight to fight. It's not like, well, for this he did this, but for this it's pretty consistent. So you feel like as you begin to game plan, you got a pretty good idea about what's going to happen. But you do realize that it looks a lot different on the inside than on the outside. So it's just going to be. Like most fights, when you have two high-level guys, whoever can assert their will, they're gonna win.
I think a big key you mentioned, you can look one way on the outside, but on the inside is different. And I think with Canelo's opponents, they say one thing and they see these things, but the power is what equalizes their plan. With Canelo, what do you make of Canelo's power, and how big of a concern is that for you guys in this fight?
I mean, he hits hard, right? Okay. That's not the biggest concern, right? Not for us. Not for us.
What's the biggest concern then?
Asserting his will. We have a game plan, and that's the biggest concern. Just staying the plan, and following that plan from the start of the fight to the end of the fight.
How challenging of an opponent do you feel is Canelo, like given what he's shown as a fighter? Like, you know, I know Caleb hasn't fought a lot of guys the level of Canelo through, not his fault at all, but, you know, how challenging is to prepare for Canelo, for your son?
You know, you regardless of who you're preparing for, you use the same process. You know, it's a partnership of coaches and athletes over the 8 weeks, and working together to figure out how to best bring everything together on fight night. So the process is not really more difficult. The process is the same.
Has training changed then at all because it's Canelo, or like you're saying, the process is the same, everything's the same, you guys don't see a need to maybe change different things or adjust, tweak different things?
No more than you would, you know, from fight to fight with any other fighter. There's always like tweaks, you know, for the most part. I'm sure like Canelo, he looks very, very consistent, but I'm sure there are little things that they always look for, you know, and I would just have to assume that all fighters do that, all camps, you know. I'm not in a lot of other camps, but I would think that's the way it would go.
How do you think the fight plays out, Richie? Like, if you were to describe it like as someone to like a fan, like how do you think it plays out? The first part of the fight, middle part of the fight, last part of the fight.
I mean, I don't really see a point to that question, because it's a fight. It's like a football game or basketball game. I mean, that's why people bet on it, and that's why people watch, you know. So we're gonna see.
I would imagine you guys are thinking like, okay, this is gonna be a fight where it's going to be a lot of little things, little adjustments. Like, we know Canelo's going to come. There's going to be a lot of ebb and flows because Canelo's an excellent counterpuncher. You know, Caleb's a great boxer. He can move, use his jab, but, you know, Canelo's shown that he can counter really well.
That's true. I mean, what else do you want me to add to that? There's really nothing to add to that. You just said it, right? There you go.
In terms of what happened at the press conference, a lot of people are saying like, hey, that was the fight right there. Like, that's, the fans have said like that's how the fight's gonna go. He's gonna land 1, Canelo's gonna land 3. What do you make of those comments that you've maybe seen on Twitter and social media?
I mean, you've seen those comments, right? They're all over, right? They're all over the place, you know, as far as what's gonna happen, how things are broke down. I mean, it just depends on what comments you're reading, right? Just like watching you guys when I go to YouTube. There's 100 shows pop up if I punch in Canelo versus Plant. They're all over the place. It don't really matter. That has zero to do with the actual fight. Zero. Don't you think?
Yeah, it does.
Everybody's just guessing.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't really pay any attention to the guessing.
When you see Caleb and what this could mean for him, his journey to get here, you know, what do you think it would mean to him, just knowing what he's been through, to get a win over Canelo and be undisputed at 168?
What do you mean now?
Yeah, what would it mean to Caleb to achieve this? Because, you know, you and Caleb have had very hard lives. Like, what do you think it would mean for him?
I mean, as we talked about earlier, this is the pinnacle, you know, and not only is it the pinnacle of just our situation, it's the pinnacle of the sport. You know, when you can become undisputed in the 4-belt era, you know, there's been just a handful, 5 or 6, or, you know, just a handful. So, of course, when you can be in that kind of an elite group, it just proves to you that you were right. Because this is where you set out for. This is your destination when you begin this process. So when you get there, you should.
Did you ever Did you ever imagine your son would get here?
At a certain point, you know, like when you first start, you don't. But as it's a process, just, you know, just like if you had a kid that you're bringing up and they only get to the amateurs, they never even turn pro, but they're a very good amateur. It's a process from start to finish. Well, we're just continuing the process, and as you go along and you accomplish one thing, then you're just on to the next, right? So, of course.
Lastly, Richie,
Yes.
Canelo and going to the decision. Caleb said he trusts boxing, he trusts in the judges, but Canelo in the past has gotten some decisions go his way that many felt, maybe not, maybe he's getting a little lenient. Do you guys have a concern about that? And does that change the plan where you feel that Caleb might have to be a little bit more aggressive than usual to avoid a situation like that?
No. You know, as a boxer, the only thing that you have any control on is what's happening in the ring. That's it. You know, so if something's out of your control, but you're sitting around fretting over it, then that's just wasted energy, wasted emotion, wasted time. And no, not at all. Not at all.
Richie, thank you so much. I really appreciate chatting with you. Thank you.
It's always good to chat with you.
I can't wait for this fight. You don't understand how excited I am for this fight.
I know you are. I know you are. I've seen you talk about it, you know.
I was very angry the first time when it didn't happen. I got angry.
Everybody was.
It's here, and I can't wait. Thank you, Richie.
Thank you.